The Taliban's takeover of Afghanistan, which was widely celebrated in Pakistan last year, has worsened the terror situation in the country. Recent attacks in the country suggest that there is a surge of terror activity since the Taliban took over Kabul. Security experts in the region are endorsing the fear that Pakistan has been slowly sliding into chaos and instability. Take a look.
The euphoria felt by many in Pakistan over a Taliban victory in Kabul 7 months ago is subsiding. The government had hoped that a friendly and proxy regime in Kabul would ease its concerns about the Pakistani Taliban. But in just 7 months, the cruel realities of the Taliban rule are staring Pakistan in the face. The Taliban's victory has encouraged Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and other terror groups to intensify their violent activities, increasing the threats of extremism and sectarianism. According to the Islamabad-based Pak Institute of Peace Studies, Pakistan witnessed a 42% increase in terrorist attacks in 2021 compared to the previous year. PIPS notes that the TTP alone was responsible for 87 attacks, an increase of 84% relative to 2020. Moreover, the recent devastating suicide bombing targeted at a Shia Muslim mosque in Peshawar also marked the re-emergence of the dreaded Islamic State Khorasan terror group in the South Asian country.
The fall of Afghanistan to the Taliban has once again turned it into a safe haven for terrorist outfits. As the recent terror attack on a Shia mosque in Peshawar has illustrated, the implications of this are not limited to Afghanistan alone. Terrorism is once again on the rise throughout South Asia. The growing number of terrorist attacks in Pakistan highlights that Pakistan and Pakistanis have now also become primary targets for attacks. For the Pakistani military establishment, its systemic support for fundamentalism and terrorism, all in the name of strategic depth, has now come to undermine Pakistan's own national security. In Pakistan, the main victim of the support for terrorism is the innocent Pakistani civilian population.
Amar bil maroof wa nahi anil munkar.
Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan's position on the Taliban has always been in sync with the geostrategic objectives of Pakistan's military and vast intelligence network headed by the Inter-Services Intelligence. Despite Islamabad's repeated denials, a Taliban victory remained an ISI goal during the 20-year US mission in Afghanistan.
If the world community incentivizes them, encourages them to walk this talk, it will be a win-win situation for everyone.
America may have been defeated in Afghanistan, but Pakistan's game of chicken is now backfiring with jihadists coming home to roost. The strategy has overlooked the interests of more than 220 million Pakistani citizens, especially the 24% living below the poverty line, limiting the ability of government to address economic development. Attacks now are seemingly happening every day, and the terror groups in the country look stronger than before. For a Prime Minister convinced that a power takeover by a hardline Islamist group represents a breaking of shackles, that would be something to take into consideration now.
Without institutionalizing democracy and political accountability in both countries, the situation in Afghanistan and Pakistan will further spiral out of control. This will increase civilian suffering in the two countries, in which the needs of the many have been sold for the wants of the few for so long. In the interest of the Pakistani population and the international community, this council must put additional pressure on the government of Pakistan and hold it accountable to fulfill its legal and moral obligations of promoting and protecting human rights. Carnage will ensue in South Asia if this does not happen.
After 2 decades of pursuing a good Taliban, bad Taliban policy, Islamabad is now confronted with the disquieting scenario of their Afghan protégés pursuing a good Pakistan, bad Pakistan. Good Pakistan helped Taliban leaders dodge the US-led forces while diverting some of the resources taken from the West toward Taliban. Bad Pakistan now says the Taliban have an obligation to reciprocate. Pakistan's long-game strategy of having a weak Islamist power in Kabul is likely to implode with forbidding consequences for regional security.